Good afternoon, everyone. It's so good to be here. Are y'all excited about this announcement? Yes, Atlanta's about to do some great things. My name is Bridget Killings. I am a managing director at JP Morgan Chase, and as a divisional director for the South, I lead a fabulous team of community managers in Florida, here in Georgia, as well as Oklahoma and Louisiana. And so we are committed to ensuring that we are definitely serving our communities. I am so excited and humbled today to be able to moderate this panel. We all know our new and phenomenal mayor, Andre Dickens, also grew up in Southwest Atlanta like I did. So this is home for me. This is home, so I'm super excited. And then definitely our chairman and CEO, Jamie Dimon. We're excited to have you here. And Jamie, we are so very blessed to know that Georgia is definitely on your mind. So we are going to have some fun with some interactive conversation. So let's move forward with our fireside chat. So a year and a half ago, in the wake of the birth of George Floyd, JP Morgan Chase came out with a bold $30 billion commitment. Yes, I said $30 billion commitment. And that was to advance racial equity. It was significant not only for its scale and ambition, but also because of its focus on closing the racial wealth gap by leveraging the firm's core business activities as well as philanthropy alone. So Jamie, talk to us about how do we come about with this commitment?
So first of all, welcome everybody. Thrilled to be here, Mayor. Thank you for coming here. And I pointed out, some don't know, but I was offered the job kind of to run Home Depot many years ago. And I took another job instead, but I love Arthur Blank and Bernie Marcus and all that. And also my girlfriend in college lived here for several years. So I used to come visit town. And by for being from New York, I was surprised how segregated it was. Yeah. This is the early 80s, or like late 70s, I guess. And so we had COVID-19 and the murder of George Floyd. Those two things shined a spotlight on something we actually already knew, that when bad things happen, it could be a storm, it could be a recession, it could be COVID-19, the poorer community, the minority communities pay a much heavier price. And they pay it across the board, by the way. It wasn't just in job loss, they lost their jobs, but they're also the ones that have medical insurance. They're the ones whose kid went home, they didn't necessarily have a nice iPad or a nice basement room to do their homework in. Their teachers may not have had the equipment to do it. And then the murder of George Floyd, of course, highlighted something, the terrible inequity that's taking place. And the only good thing that came out of that is that you saw a lot of white people around the country and a lot of CEOs around the world saying, we got to do more. This is not enough. So companies have been making this effort for a long time, but obviously we've really not bent this curve nearly like we should have 170 years after the Civil War. And so and the good news is that the commitment we made started with the Business Roundtable, 200 of the bigger companies in America, and Doug McMillon, Walmart, what can we all do? And we wanted to set the tone for financial companies. So obviously, if you're in the medical business, you can do something different. And that $30 billion is a big number, but just to put it in perspective for you, it's $8 billion of mortgages, $12 billion of affordable housing, $350 million or something of helping businesses of color get up and running, get the help or capital they need, and work skills and financial education with community branches. We opened 16 community branches, so think of that as much bigger. In that town, we've opened 16. And the community managers, we have like 120 now or something like that. But the difference is they're bigger. The art is done locally. I purchase from local artists. The construction is done locally. The food, all the things we need are done locally, the computer stuff. So they're hiring from black businesses in town, which can help them grow their business elsewhere. And so, but to get the money down, we now know how many mortgage and loan officers we need in the south side of Chicago. And I forgot the number we put here. It was like 4 or 5, black loan officers in black parts of town making black mortgages, and you learn a lot, like what policies work, what policies don't work. A lot of folks don't have good credit files, but you have other things you can look at, like do they pay rent periodically, and so a lot of lessons. We've done more than we thought in the first year. It was not meant to be a 5-year program and end. It's meant to be a permanent program that will improve over time, and then we got to help the federal government. there are a lot of things they do that make it harder. They make it harder for affordable housing. They make it harder for mortgages. They make it harder for education. And obviously, work skills is probably one of the key things of opportunity out there.
Thank you. So, Mayor Dickens, you just heard a lot of what J.P. Morgan Chase is doing. So, what are your thoughts about what we should be doing as financial institutions to close the racial gap?
Well, first of all, I'm excited today to be able to meet you, Jamie. I've heard about you. I've read about you. Of course, when you put out there $30 billion for racial equity, that shook the world. That shook the city of Atlanta for sure. And to be with you now and to have our conversation earlier, you are consistent, and that's refreshing to have a CEO of a bank this large that gets it. You honestly get it. And when you saw the issues that we were facing with COVID, with injustice that occurred across the nation, right? And too many black lives had died at the hands of excessive use of force. And so not only were you aware and you had the understanding of it, you didn't, put your head in the sand. You came up and you did something about it. And you did it with a big number. And so what banks can do, banks see all of our transactions. Banks know where we're going, what we're spending on, what's of interest to us. They know what we're asking for when we're looking for loans. They understand our packages. And so what you and your team did was with $30 billion, you're making a huge statement that this is not just charity. This is investment. That's the difference. It's not just charity. This is about making sure that you invest in the future of all Americans when you do this for racial equity for Black Americans. And so what I'm excited about is down payment assistance, affordable housing, as John O'Callaghan stated masterfully and beautifully, professorially. You taught us some things, man. I'm all in on housing, of course, affordable housing and small businesses and all these things. And the other thing I'll say is what I really like as well is the local investment, the local hiring, the local contracting, the use of local developers. Of course, the Russells being local and being some of the best who've ever done it, this family here, but also those that are aspiring Russells, these other organizations that we just mentioned, like Cityscape and others. And so I'm excited about how you're drilling down and being vertically integrated in your investments to make sure that it hits the street so that the neighborhoods, the small businesses, and everyone, and believe me, I want the federal government to relax some of these things because we have some opportunities that we're trying to do, but your investments are going to make it easier for the city of Atlanta to leverage federal funds as well.
Thank you. Thank you. So those of us who are here, who are actually from Atlanta, we all know that Atlanta is one of the most diverse cities in the U.S., with more than 50% of Atlantans. Can I say that, Mayor? Atlantans? That's okay? Okay.
Yeah. You can say ATLians. He won't leave.
He won't leave us. I wanted you to give me that right to say that.
ATLians, you can say Atlantans, you can say us, you can say whatever.
So ATLians identify more than 50%. They identify as Black, Hispanic, or Latino. And what's going on? We still aren't meeting or closing the racial equity gap. We know that there's a wealth of opportunities here in Atlanta. I mean, when we think about it, Atlanta, the home of Dr. Martin Luther King, the home of Andrew Young, the home of John Lewis, and countless other business leaders and entrepreneurs such as H.J. Russell. My very first job at the age of 14 was with H.J. Russell. And then we also now have this big thing about the entertainment industry and artists coming. Y'all heard of Tyler Perry? He lives here in Atlanta too. And yet, the wealth disparity here is still greater than many cities. So Jamie, what should we be most focused on in the short term for this beautiful city called Atlanta?
Well, I think first of all, we have 1,000 people here now. We're building a tech center. We're also hiring black financial advisors to help advise black folks on wealth and mortgages and things like that. But the most important thing is education. Education, education, education. You look at, all of my grandparents were Greek immigrants who didn't finish high school, but they believed in education. And, to me, that's the number one thing, is getting kids where they graduate high school, or not even graduate, but they have a certificate that gets them a job, or community college or college. And then, of course, to do that, you need jobs, you need housing, you need all these other things. So it's not one thing. You got to kind of make progress in all these things at once. But it starts with education. And you guys have some unbelievable universities and unbelievable schools. We now recruit like at 25 HBCUs. Like years ago, it was at 4. All were here, by the way, and Howard. But now I didn't even know there was 106 or something around America. And so we're reaching out to more. But once you create that pipeline of talent, businesses will come here, people will build homes, you can build affordable housing, but it's the talent is probably the number one thing.
So, Mayor, what are your thoughts about the short-term and even long-term goals?
Yeah, so, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, we are a largely African-American city, but we still have a 4% chance of you making it from poverty to the upper middle class in Atlanta. We have an income mobility challenge to be able to move up. This is about opportunity, making sure that we don't have a knowledge gap in many of these places. We have an opportunity gap. And so what we have to do is help these folks that are on the margins. And that's through education, as you mentioned, whether that be through college at our great institutions. The AU Center is awesome. Georgia Tech, my alma mater, of course, is awesome in developing technology talent. Georgia State, Emory, all of the above, Atlanta Technical College. But we also have programs where individuals just weren't able to go to college, or they started college and they couldn't finish. And that's why I helped to create this Tech Bridge program that's called the Technology Career Program that trains low-income or no-income people how to get a technology job in just 16 weeks. 4 months, you can go from poverty to middle class. And so the other end of that, the program trains people. You get 2 to 3 or 4 certifications in a short amount of time. The leadership of that organization, Nicole and Jahari, are here right now. But at the same time, we also have to have the agreement and commitment by corporations to hire untapped talent. Individuals that have not completed college, they may complete college if you give them enough opportunity so they can make an income and go to college at night. We are taking people that were on the margins and giving them a great opportunity. The other thing is what we can do immediately is start investing in black businesses. Start supporting them, shopping with them. And black businesses are over-mentored and undercapitalized. So we have to have investment from big corporations, from banks, from institutional investors to support black businesses, because black businesses typically hire black individuals and they support the communities that they are often in. So a force multiplier of support is to make an investment in black businesses, and then those black businesses continue to support the communities that they're in, and it becomes a cycle. And it becomes an ecosystem that you have those businesses coming right back to your bank to get a loan to buy their homes or to continue to scale and to invest in their second, third, or fourth, or 100th location. And so all of this is about leveraging the little things that we have and being flexible to look at untapped talent, not as this is where their destiny is, they're going to stay that way. No, we have an ability to take this 4%, which is a travesty that we are in a city that's this blessed to have folks that are basically, you got a 96% chance of staying in poverty. And it's my goal as mayor that in 4 or 8 years, we're not gonna be at 4%. We can't stay that way. That's not sustainable. And when we talk about, things like a pandemic, or we talk about a hurricane or some kind of tragedy, the consistent and persistent multi-generational poverty is just as catastrophic to a people as a pandemic is.
Guys, had 2 things we did too, which are important. We got rid of the check the box for hiring second felons, so that we hired like over 2,000 last year. People should be given a second chance, and a thing called the Check and Chance Coalition. We've got 30 big companies sign up. And the other one, which is maybe more important, we got rid of the college degree required. on like 60,000 jobs, because it shouldn't be required. It has nothing to do with people's ability
Awesome.
to work and succeed.
Awesome. And I'll just say this, in conjunction with that, major companies now are saying that a third or 25% to a third of their workforce won't require a college degree. You're hearing that with Microsoft, with IBM, and so many others, Accenture, which we do business with. I mean, these folks are now getting it, and so that's exceptional. And while we're talking about workforce development and job creation, we also were earlier talking about affordable housing with your large investment that you're making of $30 billion. To marry those two is really a big goal. We don't want people living in subsidized housing forever. We don't want them to go in at 25 and never come out. We want them to graduate out of the need to have supportive housing. We want them to get workforce training. I want you to sign up one day, you move in, but in 5 years, you've graduated out with an $80,000 job, and now I'm coming to you and John and all these builders for down payment assistance. So you can get out of the apartments and move on into your home, your first home, and be there forever and get into this ecosystem of making money and off of your assets like your home. And so we pair those things together, and that's why the work you're doing by saying that you guys are going to hire folks that may not have a college degree, and you're also going to help with down payment assistance and affordable housing. You got the winning combination right there as the bedrock support to help us overcome this wealth gap.
I love it. I love it. So we definitely see where you as mayor and with Jamie Dimon and him at the rim, we definitely have some synergies and some collaboration. So I want to circle back because both of you did talk about HBCUs, right? So this past weekend, I had the pleasure of being a panelist in partnership with the Atlanta Hawks, and our focus was on HBCUs. So we sit here today, and we are literally a stone's throw away from some prestigious, historically black college universities. So we have Spelman. I know we have some Spelmanites in the room. I'm sure we have some Morehouse men in the room. And then what's special to me is Clark Atlanta. So Clark is, I didn't go to Clark, I went to Tuskegee, but Clark is special to me. I lost my dad a little over a month ago, 98 years old, Dr. Edwards Irons, and he was the dean of Clark Atlanta Business School.
Did not know that was your dad. Wow.
Yes. So, Jamie, I know we're doing a lot of things with HBCUs. So tell this fabulous audience of ATLians. Before we leave, I want to hear you say ATLians.
He was almost an ATLian when he was going to be at Home Depot. Yeah, he was going to be over Home Depot. He was almost an ATLian.
So, Jamie, what are some ways that we are helping diversify our firm? And because of who you are, I'm going to say even the industry.
Yeah, so we started this years ago, but also we track every ED and MD who is black on their path in career to make sure they're being mentored properly, being opportunity properly. We do extensive recruiting and training, so we're up like 50% in black EDs and MDs in the last 3 years. The small negative there is if I just hire from someone else, that doesn't necessarily add to the black community, and so we started something like we're going to hire and train 300 black financial advisors. And that's net 300. We're going to work in their communities to help grow the wealth there. But the HBCUs, I've been recruiting at Howard and Spelman literally for 35 years. And so we've been hiring 20 people a year from Howard, and I don't know the numbers at Spelman, but I was unaware of how many there were. I always get irritated in New York if someone says to me, it's hard to find a qualified black person. I say, you know what? Get on the plane with me. I'll take you somewhere. And because, of course, they're everywhere. They're in Indiana University, they're in Georgia State, but these 106 HBCUs, so we now recruited 24 of them. And, once we start, it's that pipeline. And then and you're right, it's much more the training and certificates that matter to get the next job. And so we're going to build a tech center here of 250 people. My guess is it'll be 50% black there. And we're going to build an advisory group that does video advice. We're going to build it here so you get more black workers just because you're in a town with a lot of black people. We may do the same thing in Detroit. But all these hiring things, these kids at all these schools are fabulous. I mean, when I hear that this generation is lazy or anything like that, white or black, it's just not true. Right. They're just as hardworking and ambitious and gung-ho as anybody else.
So I like how he put a number out there. First of all, we should applaud that they're putting a tech center here where 250 people are going to work. That's awesome. That is awesome. When she said it earlier, she had so much other, great announcements mixed in. We all held our applause, but no, that's when someone decides to choose Atlanta to plant a flag. 250 jobs coming here in a tech center, and then what you just said was 50% of them pretty much will be black. What gets measured gets met. You set a goal, corporations, when you set a goal, you tend to hit your goals because, you don't get to be a CEO by not hitting your goals, right? So you're going to hit your goal, you're going to have 50%.
Sometimes but okay.
Right.
If you can't baffle them, if you can't dazzle them with your brilliance, baffle them with shit. You ever hear that?
well, we know we're going to hit this 250 at 50%. And all these people in cameras and these HBCU graduates are all going to make sure of it. And that's what success looks like when a very powerful, knowledgeable, capable CEO states that we're going to do $30 billion in racial equity. We're going to come to Atlanta, Georgia, where we know we can find this diverse talent. You don't have to guess. When you come to Atlanta, you're going to find top talent, black, Hispanic. You're going to find the talent here. And once you do it, others are going to do it. People are coming here. Corporations are coming here. And what we don't want is for them to import all of their talent. So we got the talent right here. So out of that 250, 50% of them being from Atlanta and they all being local, and we can really help our ecosystem thrive, Jamie, and I thank you for that. And these HBCUs are phenomenal. You mentioned Spelman, Morehouse, Clark, Morris Brown, et cetera. These folks, when people choose to bring a tech center to Atlanta, the first thing folks say is, oh, Georgia Tech. And I'm a proud Georgia Tech alum on the board of directors and all of that. I love it. But at the same time, don't sleep on the technology developers and thought leaders that are coming out of our HBCUs. And when you start with your product design and your preparations with black folks, developers at the table, you avoid some of these issues that people end up seeing once they're out in practice. We've seen organizations build an app. I'm not going to give names because I actually like them now, and they're coming to our city. But they build an app, and then what happens once it gets out? They didn't black test it. The people on the other side end up saying, picking names and saying that name doesn't fit the profile I want to allow to use my services. We know that. But when you now start having us at the table, when you come here and you build a tech center and you say 50% of them, you can't help but make sure that you're going to have a racial lens in how you do application development and how you scale these products and services. Your delivery model just feels inclusive. And so, all around, I'm very thankful for that.
All right. So we're going to just switch it up a little bit. So Mayor Dickens, you've been on both the private and the public sector. So why do you think the cooperation and collaboration between the public and private sectors is so important?
Yeah, I've been on both sides. I'm a technological person. I'm an engineer from many years, doing everything from product development to helping train folks to be able to go on to be tech leaders. And so I've been in the private sector, owned my own business, had to go through the startup phase, raising capital and all those things. So I've seen it on all ends. I built a few houses here and there too, tried my hand in a number of things. And now, for the last 8 years, I've been a city council member, and then now as mayor, you see how both are beneficial to the outcomes of society. The pace at which business moves, you can move a lot faster. Now, as mayor, I'm trying to optimize our systems and improve our delivery so that we move at the speed of business. But let's face it, government has a lot of red tape and bureaucracy that I'm trying to bring down. But government has a mission, and that mission is solely for the people. So whereas corporations, the number one thing is to give shareholder value, to make sure that the stakeholders are taken care of. And then you have also this, once you get so large, and hopefully it doesn't take folks to get so large that they then turn back to have a community lens, but the community lens is something that corporations adopt. Well, a community lens is inculcated inside of government. What we do is about the community. And so when you merge those two, when you marry those two, that's why I don't look at what Jamie or other corporations are doing as charity. I'm glad to take charity. We need that too. But yes, please help out. But investments matter. Once you make an investment, you want a return on your investment, and we do too. And so I think that when corporations and government, private and public get together, then we're talking the language of finance, of business, but also of community. So we're braiding these opportunities together so you actually establish a robust ecosystem that can stand and withstand some of these challenges that may come, seen or unseen, when you braid them together, private sector and public.
Okay. Jamie, so we all know how passionate you are about the Second Chance program. You just spoke about it. So what are some other priorities we have to drive inclusive recovery that you want to talk about? And I'm going to throw this one out there because Mayor Dickens alluded to it. What are your thoughts on what we're doing as far as affordable housing?
Yeah, so I just talk about collaboration first. 160 million people work in America, 140 million work in business, 20 million at government. And government is police, firemen, military, people we hold in high regard. The 140 million, that's where $1 trillion is spent in CapEx every year, $400 billion in R&D every year. We do a lot of our own training. But I totally agree. Government has to be conducive to growth. Government can put roadblocks, or they can make it easier. They can get those roads built and do the affordable, they can get the sewers put in place. And, if business and government fighting, it doesn't work. And very often, business can literally drive around the worst neighborhoods. You can build a very good business and ignore the rest of our citizens, but government does need to focus on all the citizens in a way that some other institutions don't. I think all companies should and get involved in public policy, because the public policy holds us back quite a lot, because that would be the best thing for all of society. And we'd have a healthier society, less crime, better social outcomes, more growth, more opportunity for everybody, more happiness. And so I do think working together, you get that. When I see government and business fighting, which you see not just here sometimes, but around the world, it just doesn't work. And so I think that collaboration matters the most. And then about the thing that I get most passionate about is public policy. So I always look at the $30 billion that we're doing, but that's not going to make up for inner city schools that don't work. It's not going to make up for healthcare systems that don't give enough health care at a proper cost to people. It's not going to make up for regulations which are crippling the formation of small business or something like that. So I think it's really important for business to also be involved in a non-parochial, non-selfish, non-self-serving way about what works for society. And doing that, it's amazing what can be accomplished.
Absolutely. So we're getting ready to come to an end, and I must say I'm going to go ahead and claim 8 years for you. And then
Thank you.
After 56 days.
That's right. My 56th day.
and then, just listening to illustrious CEO speak, I'm kind of, liking maybe a ticket one day for the president and vice president, and be able to have these two gentlemen sitting up there. I'm just putting it out there.
There's no woman up here, though. So
well, I'm the woman. I could be Secretary of State or something. You could make up a role for me, Jamie. So as we get ready to close, this has been so much fun and just enlightening, and I hope you all have learned a lot. So, Mayor Dickens, just be honest and transparent with us. From everything that you've heard and seen, what are some things that you could just suggest that we could just do a call to action on what J.P. Morgan Chase can do to continue the progress with our commitment for the racial equity here in our city of Atlanta?
Well, first, this has been phenomenal, and I thank you for these questions. I thank the Russell Center for all that you do for bringing us together today, and I'm excited about what's next to come. It's going to be so much. The whole team at J.P. Morgan Chase right here in Atlanta, from Rashida and others, it's just phenomenal. You guys are really, available and accessible. And so the thing that you can do, that they can do, is promote that a corporation in America is doing $30 billion towards racial equity. You have to say yay and thank you and let's keep going when someone does something significant like that. Highlighting success, highlighting investment, and that may trigger others. I don't think that you would be upset if someone else came in with $30 billion, right? Right. So maybe if we say this is great, someone else will say this is great and decide to do it. And so one is we can always highlight the positive. And then you can start to give us all suggestions on the best way to leverage this type of capital investment. We're talking about small businesses. We're talking about workforce development. We're talking about affordable housing. Give us your ideas on what would you like to see. Talking about building more single-family affordable housing so that people can get down payment assistance and move in and get a piece of the American dream. Let's talk about it. Let's get together and go further with that. Use these tools for pre-development, this money that they're going to have, that the ANDP is going to get out into the hands of the development community. Use that for pre-development and leverage it with Invest Atlanta, who's in the back, and others. And then we come right back to Jamie and company and say, all right, let's do more. Let's show them what we do, and y'all put me on a 100-day schedule as mayor and say, what are you going to do in the first 100 days? Y'all, let's do some stuff right away, and then we'll show and really ignite their passions even more. I don't think for a second that this organization, this leadership is done. I don't think for a second that this will be the last time we'll see them. This is how you lean into something. You say, this ain't the last time we're going to see you, Jamie. We're going to do so much together. We're going to be back. You're going to be an ATLian. We're going to get you. You're going to get an Atlanta Influences Everything shirt, and you're going to walk around New York with it. But I fundamentally believe that this city is the best stop that you can make. And that this place is where when you're going to want to do something with racial equity, that you do it here. Because the leadership sits high but also works low. We can work the whole gamut from top to bottom, and you will see what you provide get in action quickly, thoroughly, and sustainably. And so I ask you guys to commit to doing that in whatever parts of this city that you give it your all to. Keep giving it your all, and we're going to show Jamie, and we're going to show all the other banks, we're going to show all the other corporations that they need to bring their tech hubs here, that they need to bring their investment here, that they need to plant their flag here, or they'll have a fear of missing out on what Atlanta's about to do.